I want to talk about immigration, one of the hottest and most complicated topics out there. Opinions vary widely. Some people say we should open our borders to those seeking freedom or searching for a better life, while others resent immigrants, claiming they take up our jobs and resources. And although I'm sure that both sides do have valid points, it's immigrants who tend to get a bad rap. The media often portrays immigrants with no papers or documentation as criminals, while in reality, most undocumented immigrants are honest, hardworking people just trying to survive in this world. And I never thought about this until recently, when I was having dinner with my nanny Dolma and her husband Tenzin. Dolma was my nanny for 10 years, and she has a special place in my heart. Dolma and Tenzin are Tibetan. After the Chinese invaded Tibet, the Dalai Lama and many others fled to India. Dolma and Tenzin grew up in northern India, where they lived as refugees. Tenzin had been lucky, however, as he had been able to study in the US for 1 year after college, and now he wanted to return with his family. Dolma and Tenzin wanted a better life for their son. Tenzin applied for a visa in 2006 and was denied. He applied again in 2007, though, and was denied again, so he applied for a third time in 2008 and finally received a visa. He came to this country alone, leaving Dolma and their son behind. He knew no one, he had no money, he had no work experience that mattered, and there was a language barrier. He was an outcast. He worked odd jobs under the table, making $6 to $7 an hour, sometimes only working a couple hours a day. He shared a single bedroom with 3 other men for months and months. Eventually, he got a job at a car wash making $10 an hour, but he was on call and never worked a full 40-hour week. He saved and scrimped for around 2 years until 2010, when he was finally able to bring Dolma and their son over to the US. But life was not easy. They lived on food stamps, and the only apartment they could find was a tiny 2-bedroom apartment for $1,200 a month, which for them at the time was unaffordable, so they asked another family to share it with them. There were 5 people living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom. Mornings were hard. Dolma got a job working with the elderly, but she didn't have a car, so every day she would walk a couple miles to her job in Kensington from El Cerrito. At first, she worked just a couple hours a day. Eventually, she got more hours and would bring food and a blanket to work overnight and then walk back down the hill the next day. Immigrants are usually hired on an hourly basis because it is much cheaper for the employers. Hourly employees just fill in when needed, which is great for the employers, but it's terrible for the workers. Hourly employees never know how much they're going to make in a given month and live under the constant stress of wondering whether they will be able to pay their rent or not. And if I had heard this story even a couple years ago, I'm not sure I would have understood. But I'm older now. And though I still don't know much, when Dolma and Tenzin told me their story over dinner, the challenges they faced, the hardships they endured, it made me realize how truly privileged I am. As I listened to them that night, I felt many emotions. Disbelief at Tenzin's childhood. He was so hungry sometimes he ate dog food, and he ate poison berries twice that almost killed him. I felt extreme guilt for my privilege, but it also made me reflect on the wide range of human experiences in this world. Some people are born with so many opportunities, and some are born like Tenzin, on the side of a road, in a tent, and don't even know their birthday. Immigrants come to this country hoping for a better life. I have known Dolma and her husband for 12 years, and I only recently learned their story. And it made me realize we often have no idea what people have been through, but perhaps more importantly, we don't need to know everyone's stories. What we do need, however, is to treat people with compassion and empathy, especially immigrants, because chances are they've traveled a long, rough road we know nothing about. And an update on Dolma and Tenzin. Tenzin now works 2 jobs all week long. He still works at the car wash on weekends, and he works at Berkeley Bowl during the week. Dolma also works full-time now, and they recently bought a home in Pinole. Tenzin says it was all worth it, but the one thing he does miss about his country is the universal thread of humility and guilt, humility and empathy. So maybe we can all embrace a little of that in how we treat each other and ourselves. Thank you.